Hey, Baki Talki crew. This is Steve coming back to you after a bit of a hiatus. So next week, I will have a new episode on the Baki movie, Baki Hanma vs. Kengan Ashura. And we'll be doing 3 episodes on that for the next 3 Mondays. And then, of course, we will run out of Baki again. So in the meantime, I'm just posting an episode of a different podcast I'm starting. It's a bit lighter on the workload for me, which is nice. It's going to be a monthly podcast with a similar vibe to Baki Talki, except we're not going to be talking about Baki. So it's sort of, it's similar in the sense that it's completely different. It's a new show where I'm inviting a friend, most likely the same people who've been on Baki Talki. And I have a playlist of songs that they're going to listen to and pick one that they like, and that will be how we decide which show we're going to discuss. And then they'll watch an episode or 2, or maybe the whole season, who knows. And then we'll talk about it. I've only recorded 1 episode so far. It's with Catherine, great guest. So I added it to the feed here. You can listen to it. I'm not going to post any future ones on here because I don't want to spam people who are here for the Baki discussion. But if you want to listen to more, just check out the Anime Jukebox. We should be on all of the major podcast networks. Anyway, enjoy. Hello and welcome to the first ever episode recorded, I don't know what the release order will be, of Anime Jukebox. This is a new show, a new format, and I've got an old guest. It's my sister, Catherine.
Hello. I might be the first guest, but apparently maybe I'm not.
Well, you're a very special guest because this is a trial, like we don't know what's going to work. We don't know what's not. So I wanted to get a high quality guest, try it out how I think it should work, and we'll see how it goes.
It's the pilot.
Yes, exactly. And this show's all about pilots, watching first episodes and stuff. I'll just quickly do a quick rundown of the show. Basically, I have this incredible 4-hour playlist of top-notch anime music, nothing but bangers, and I've sent it out to Catherine. These are from shows I've watched. I want to put it out there. By me adding a song to the playlist, it does not mean that I like the show. That is the case for most of them, but that gives me plausible deniability. And I've asked Catherine to pick a song from it, and depending on what she picks, that's what we're going to talk about during our next record. So without further ado, Catherine, what's the song that you picked?
The song is called "The Girls Are All Right!" Exclamation point.
Oh, what a pick! What a pick! Oh, man. So that is the song from A Place Further Than the Universe, one of the critical darlings of the past 5 years, and one of my absolute favorite shows. So just to fact check myself here, this came out in 2018, so technically 6 years ago. I know. But also to fact check myself, this is one of my favorite shows. I didn't do this in the pilot. I'm going to try and make it more clear my actual ranking on shows as we go. Just to give you a painted picture of how I view anime. But I will say, I've only ranked 4 shows on my anime list at 10 out of 10. And of course, A Place Further Than the Universe is one of them. So you could argue it's like in my top 3, top 4 shows. So,
wow.
Do you know anything about the show?
I know nothing about the show. I was just relieved upon reading the title that the girls are all right. And the album artwork I found very empowering. It was, like when you go to the washroom and there's like the man and woman sign?
Yeah.
So it's just like 4 of the woman signs holding hands.
Yeah. Would that be great if at a restaurant that was an option? Like you're looking for the bathroom and there's the 4 women holding hands option?
Like the, what's it called? The lane on the highway where you get more people.
Yeah. Like the HOV lane.
Yeah, like the HOV lane.
The high women occupancy bathroom. Sounds fun.
Utopia.
What I like about that song is it's not just that it's called The Girls Are All Right. I think at some point in the song they start going like, we all right, we all right.
Yes.
We're all right, we're all right.
in Japanese for the most part. And yeah, then it's like, the girls are all right. It like goes right into English.
My favorite thing is that with there's this show this season, Konosuba, that came back, and this is like their third season over 10 years, and so they have one English line in the whole song, and it's the first line, and it just goes like, "We're still here." Like, okay. Wouldn't that be so funny? So I'm actually a bit wrong. I thought that the lyric was, "Yes, we are still going," which I found hilarious for a show on its third season. Re-listening for the podcast to fact check, I believe it is, "Yes, we are still growing up." But I'll let you be the judge.
Yes, we are still going up.
Oh boy, A Place Further Than the Universe. So yeah, I don't want to give away too much of this. This is a show about, like all anime, it's a show about high school girls, and they're gonna go on a bit of a journey. Yeah.
Usually I would find that like, oh, are they gonna be okay? But they're gonna be all right. So I'm excited to watch it.
You can just keep telling yourself that as you watch, like, don't worry.
The girls are all right.
It's so funny because this is actually a show we've talked about on Baki Talki before. I don't know if you listened to the episode, but when I had Jack on, I made a prank video.
Oh, it's that one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I do know about that.
And I picked it just because it's one of the most wholesome shows out there. I thought it was the most anti-Baki. Yeah. Okay. So how this show is going to work is that we're going to stop this record in a minute or two, and Catherine will go off and watch the first episode. I might find a clip or two for her to watch just for any other things to discuss, because we're not coming back to it. We can discuss. We don't have to limit ourselves to one episode as much, although we probably will.
Once I have watched the whole series, I will return and discuss how the song affects the whole series.
Welcome to 2025. But yeah, man, I am pleased. I didn't think we'd get such a strong first episode. Were there any other songs you debated, or?
I will say the song that's immediately after it on the playlist, I'm not sure. The Gong of Knockout, that's a banger.
That's Baki. That's Baki.
Someone should pick that, because that was I was just listening through the whole "The Girls Are All Right" song, and then it went into that one. I was like, that's gotta be an action-packed episode.
Yeah, so I'm taking that off the playlist so that nobody in the future picks Baki. For those of you who just finding this podcast organically, first of all, you're the best. Secondly, I have a podcast all about Baki, which I assume a fair amount of listeners have listened to. But if you want to check it out, it's called Baki Talki, and we talk about every episode of Baki. Anyway.
That's a shame.
All right. Well, I'll see you in just a minute. Whoa.
Whoa.
Hello, and welcome to the Anime Jukebox, a new podcast that I've created. I guess this wouldn't be the real intro, because we've already recorded a part where I talk about what this podcast is. Welcome to the second half of the episode. With us, it's been like 3 weeks, judging based on when we last recorded. So a lot has changed. My darling daughter is probably 5 pounds heavier than she was when we last recorded. Introduce Steve. She's a baby. This is normal. I'm not body shaming my daughter. But another thing that's changed is Catherine has watched 2 episodes of A Place Further Than the Universe, and I've written down a bunch of questions that I have for her. But to be honest, what I want to start with is I just want to get your overall thoughts. What did you think of A Place Further Than the Universe?
I liked it. It was very it was a bizarre concept for a show. So it was interesting to see how it played out and kind of where they were going to go with it. I hadn't watched an anime in a while, so I was frequently thinking, like, these girls need to chill out. Like, they need to take it down a few notches.
Yeah.
But I also appreciated the high energy and the passion for the Antarctic.
It's funny you're saying you don't know where this show's going to go, but I think it's pretty clear that they're going to Antarctica.
Well, yeah, it's a journey to the Antarctica, as it says in the logo.
I love. It seems like logos for anime are just given the least amount of effort. I was watching this show this season. Grandma and Grandpa Turn Young Again. Great show. The title actually overflowed. Like the English translation, the only part that got on the screen was Grandma and Grandpa Turn, and then the rest was off until episode 6, and they fixed it. But anyway, so a place further than the universe. Back to what we're actually here to talk about. That you know what? That's one of the most interesting things that I hadn't really considered that, because as an anime, I think that this show is pretty grounded. But as an art form, as a medium, like anime is animation. Like characters are very expressive, they're very loud, and like even in a more muted story. I gotta agree with you there.
Well, even just imagine trying to pitch this story to like a Hollywood executive. Just like, okay, so they're teenagers and they go to the Antarctic. It's like, but aren't they like teenagers? Don't they have to go to school? And it's like, well, they're just not gonna go to school. And instead, they're gonna go to the Antarctic.
I
don't think it would fly.
You don't think Hollywood would be going for this? No, I think you're very right. I did some research on a place further in the universe, just to see what's happening with it, see if I can find any fun tidbits. And the writer of this show was complaining that they weren't able to make any works like this even after the success of this show. Like, to get an original work that's not based on anything else with such a crazy premise and no like video game or anything to tie it into, even in anime, like it's not a common thing to happen.
Yeah, they're just kind of like on a trip, and I want to know. I think the real hook is like, is the mom alive? Surely she must not be alive.
It's one of those things, yeah. Can you hold out hope that somebody is alive by missing in Antarctica for 10 years or so?
Like, what's the best case scenario where they find her alive in the Antarctic and she's just been like chilling there for a decade, like not contacting them or trying to get home?
The best case scenario is she died 10 years ago. It's probably whatever black magic she would have performed to survive. I don't think we'd want to find her.
Like what are they gonna find, the mother's body like frozen in the Antarctic, and the girl's just gonna go like, my youth has started to take motion.
A youth has sprung into action. Starts playing some music. Oh my god. Well, you know what? Being the Anime Jukebox and all, let's take a moment to talk briefly about the music, because obviously we picked this show because of its stellar theme song, "The Girls Are All Right." But this show reminds me of stuff like Lost or House or the old like network hour-long dramas. It loves to end every episode with like an upbeat song playing over like a montage. I don't know if they do it every episode. I would actually bet they do, but they do in the first 2. What did you think about the music? Did you think it was heavy-handed, or do you think it hit just right?
I think it does a really great job kind of like selling the ethos of the show, of like, this is a journey to the Antarctica, and these girls are going to have a grand old time. The only thing is, I will say, I get why they have to show the Antarctic so much in the intro song to kind of like sell the show.
Mm-hmm.
I really do wish I could have experienced this episode not having that intro and just like let it slowly unfold where there's just this girl in their school that won't stop talking about Antarctica.
The girl that has earned the name Antarctica in their school. Oh my god.
Like, imagine that being your thing. And also, I forgot that, like, yen is so much less than ours. I was like, oh my god, she dropped $1 million on the subway? And then she was like, I got it from working on my part-time job.
And she's working at the grocery store. This is called pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. Like, just make $1 million. Yeah, the general rule of thumb I use is it's 100 times less, so it's like $10,000.
I mean, still, that's a lot to drop on the subway, and also to have been carrying around.
Yeah, I don't get why she brought it. I don't get why she dropped it. I don't think that part's explained. It's a nice scene, but yeah. Well, before we get into some more specific questions, what would you give it out of 10?
Probably like an 8. It has a lot of promising things going on. I think it depends on where it's going, like what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And like, because I feel like it's hard to judge the series based on this intro, but it starts a lot.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Because I was thinking back on it, like, this is, like, spoiler alert, this is one of my probably top 5 shows, and I like a lot of moments in it, but, you know, it's not like it has some jaw-dropping opening that makes it a 10 out of 10 or anything. I think what you're saying is right. It sets up some good ideas, and then it follows it up with solid execution throughout.
Yeah, it's a solid start, but there's nothing... other than the bizarreness of everyone wanting to go the Antarctic, it doesn't set up too much. I also love that they end up taking this long train ride and running to the boat, and then the next episode is them going like, okay, so that's the boat that we will be going on when it goes to Australia.
Yeah, what a waste of money. They immediately then are just like, you gotta save up money or else you're not coming. Meanwhile, we just went across the country. We went to Hiroshima to go look at a boat.
And in the credits sequence, she just like sends a photo to her mom of like, I'm on a train. I just saw Mount Fuji out the window, and the mom's like, ha, ha, ha. Oh, those crazy girls on their voyage to the Antarctic. Glad she's got a high school adventure.
I will say that's her friend, not her mom. That's her friend who tried to cover for her.
I thought that was her mom.
No, her mom would not be laughing at that.
Oh, I also meant to ask, does the friend that like is kind of a downer, does she just not go to the Antarctic?
No, of course not. They play around with her character, like it's very intentional what they're doing with her, but no, she does not go to Antarctica. This is a story about 4 girls who go to the Antarctic, and she's not one of them.
Wow, because I hadn't met the 4th girl. I think you're about to meet her in the 3rd episode.
Yeah, exactly. I like her, but yeah, just going back to your comment about how everybody wants to go to Antarctica. I think that's there's a concept that I've always liked, that like when you introduce a story, you can do whatever you want, but then afterwards people start like, they don't give you the suspension of disbelief. So like in the first episode, when our 2 leads meet each other and want to go to Antarctica, I feel like it's a lot easier to accept than when in the next episode the girl at the convenience store they met is like, hey, bring me along. Like, I also want to go to the Antarctic.
Well, but at least she is kind of like, she had a reason. She was like, I'm done high school, and like that sounded like fun. You
don't think the other people have a reason? Her mom's there.
Okay, well, she has a reason, but then our main girl that we're following, she just wanted to ditch school once and couldn't do it, and then like to get over her fears, leaped left like right to, okay, I guess I'll go to the Antarctic because it's It's too difficult to ditch school, so I'll go to Antarctica.
I think that's the type. Sometimes you gotta run before you can walk. You know, you just you just gotta go as far south as possible, and then you can come home.
I can trust this girl. She dropped a bunch of money on the subway.
Well, it's not like she's gonna get murdered at Antarctica. Although, who knows? Maybe that's what happened to her mom. So maybe I shouldn't say anything. You know what? This leads into an so Kamari, I believe, is the name. She had a few names, but I think she goes by Kamari, our main girl. She wants to make the most out of high school. I wanted to ask you and a few of these questions because Catherine, of course, you were a high school girl at one point. Do you find her a relatable character?
I honestly do. I specifically remember in high school wanting to go to Antarctica. Like, not like really, but I would like daydream about it. So I think it's really tapping into something.
It's just it's that instinctual urge. It's like salmon, like returning.
I really think it kind of is. Like, I remember I at least once wrote like a short story about like the Antarctic. In the comments of this podcast, everyone, if you were a high school girl, let us know if you
Please don't.
If you wrote it. I want to know. I feel like it would be. I think it's relatable.
Sorry, yes, that part's great, but I can't have people saying, high school girls, please let me know in the comments.
No, people that were once high school girls.
Okay, there we go.
What, do you think you have a lot of high school girl listeners?
Oh my god. I looked at my analytics the other day on Spotify because they do a breakdown by gender. 99.1% male in the last 30 days. That's for my Baki podcast, of course.
This one will be way different because we're starting with girl power.
This one will be way different, except that I have no way of marketing this other than posting on Baki Talki. We'll see. This community. Well, that's something I wanted to bring up. So this show is about 5 or 6 years old right now. It was very popular in its day. It was seen as one of the best shows of the decade when it came out. And it just got its first Blu-ray release with an English dub, which isn't available on Crunchyroll yet. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this because it's sort of an interesting thing. How much do you think the Blu-ray costs for this?
Ooh, I haven't bought a DVD or a Blu-ray DVD in quite some time. So it's just the first season?
Yeah, it's only one season.
Is the whole show only one season?
Yeah. Most good anime is like that.
Okay. $30.
$100. Although if you buy now, $90.
You know what? That's a pretty good cash grab.
Well, that's what they realized, you know, like anime, like if only the super fans are gonna buy the Blu-ray, just gouge the shit out of them, you know, like they'll pay it.
It's the Taylor Swift model. You don't have to. You can have most of your songs on streaming and then release it on vinyl in like 5 different editions.
You know what? You are completely right. I wonder who started this first. Because anime has been doing it for years. Obviously, Taylor Swift. I more mean the music industry in general. Yeah.
I think with anime too, like there's always that fear that they could take it off of Crunchyroll and then you wouldn't be able to watch it anymore, right? Whereas like Taylor Swift, you're always gonna. She's not gonna leave Spotify, but with anime, there is like a feeling that you could lose it and not be able to find it online.
I'm just imagining like Shake It Up becoming lost media. Like she took it off Spotify. Nobody has access to it anymore.
She didn't used to be on Spotify. She had a whole thing where like she was against it for a really long time. I don't remember what happened, but she wasn't on it, and then now she is.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. it's a legitimate fear. When I was, I've watched a lot of shows to prepare for this podcast. And it's very productive when I watch these anime. But one of them, Lane, Serial Experiments Lane, a classic from the 90s, is technically like it's not lost media, but there's no legal way to watch it in America and Canada anymore. It used to be on this company called Funimation, and then Crunchyroll bought Funimation and thought to themselves, it's more work to put this up than to just not, and so it's no longer watchable. You have to pirate it. But anyway, just a little tangent there. I'm sure we'll be talking about Lane soon on this podcast. Another question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I paused there because I was like, I just want to make sure she's still there.
I'm still here. I'm awaiting the question. I'm ready. I'm ready to ponder.
So this is something I think you've sort of touched on, but a big pet peeve of mine, and I don't think it's just me, is that anime is very focused on high schoolers. And that's fine. There's some stories that make sense for high schoolers to have. But often you'll be watching a story and it'll be like, the main character lives by themselves, is a general in the army, and they also are in 10th grade and have to take an exam. And it feels like they've shoehorned an existing story into a high school. I feel like you can make the case either way for this show, that it is a story that you could only tell about a high schooler, or it's a story that seems ridiculous for a high schooler to take part in. Which side of the debate would you land on for this show?
Ooh, I'm kind of split on it, because on one hand, it's ridiculous that these high schoolers are going on an expedition to the Antarctic. But on the other hand, it is kind of their main obstacle to overcome. Because if they were adults, they could just go on a trip to Antarctica. And there wouldn't really be any reason for them not to.
The first few episodes would be a lot more boring, I agree.
And there is, like, anyone, really, if they put their mind to it, can go to Antarctica. But they have this time pressure of needing to do it in 10th grade, or, like, they've never had an adventure.
You raise a great point. Yeah, the time they sort of sweep you up into thinking that this is time sensitive, and it really there's nothing to say you can't go in your 11th grade.
Or like in university, or like I get the girl that wants to find her mom, and I guess what, like, bring her back from Antarctica before she finishes high school.
Have fun bringing that through customs. That's the corpse of my frozen mom.
But yeah, the other girls, there's no need for this sense of urgency. I hope by the end of the series that they learn that they don't have to do all this in high school. But I don't think that's going to be the ethos of the show.
No, this is a show for doers. On the topic of that, rewatching the second episode, I found Shirase, I believe is her name, so funny. The black-haired girl whose mom is in Antarctica.
We just know her as Antarctica.
Antarctica-kun, yeah. I found her so funny in this episode because she's got this amazing, like, mix between this burning desire to, like, go to Antarctica at all costs, but also, like, clearly is more of an introvert who would rather not do this, not really put themselves out there to do anything. Like, it's much easier for them to just work at the grocery store for $1,000,000 yen. What did you think of her scheme to get them onto the boat?
Yeah, it is kind of like, it's incredible that somebody came up with this character. That it's like, it's just such a bizarre thing. It's like, okay, she's a quiet girl, but her mom was lost on an exhibition to Antarctica. And now she spends every waking moment talking about going to Antarctica and working jobs to save up money to go to Antarctica. And, like, stalks the Antarctica like civilian group
Yeah.
so that it's just an all-consuming presence in her life. It's just such a weird thing that somebody came up with. So what was the scheme? It was that she wanted to seduce them.
She wanted someone
seduce
else to
them?
seduce one of the men, I guess. It didn't get that far. I don't know. Maybe then they'd give him 1,000,000 yen and they could sneak on board or something. It wasn't super clear.
Yeah, and I think she says the words like, "Well, obviously we're high school girls, so we have to seduce them." And the other two girls are like, "Of course, we're in."
Yeah.
But then the people they're trying to seduce know Antarctica,
Yeah.
like the girl.
They're like, that's the place we're going on our boat. Yeah.
I did zone out a little bit in that conversation that they had. How do they know her? Is it that did they know her mom, or is it that like she just has stalked them?
Yeah, I don't know how explained it is at this point, but yeah, this is the same expedition that her mother went on, or at least a large portion of the crew is. So they know of her because they knew her mother.
Oh, did her mom go missing on a civilian expedition?
I don't I don't know if it was, but I get the vibe that like it was, even if it was a official one, it wasn't very different. They both seem like pretty ragtag operations.
If I went to Antarctica and somebody on my expedition was lost and never found, I don't think I would go on another expedition.
I think this is the type of attitude of people who just don't go to Antarctica. I think you get filtered out a bit earlier.
That's true. You just gotta not question it. It's like we're going to Antarctica. No further questions.
Get money, go to Antarctica. That's it. I also liked when Shira said when Antarctica's plan was when she came up to Kamari and was like, "I found a job for you. It's in hospitality. You take boys on walks, and you can get 1,000,000 yen in a month."
Oh yeah, they brought that up twice. What was it? Like just like an ad for like sex trafficking? Like
I think so. I think it's like the ones like you'd see in Toronto that say like, you got fast typing fingers, you can get $300 an hour, things like that. Just suspicious little ads.
Well, I'm glad that's not where the journey led.
On the topic of where the journey led, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. A place further than the universe. Do you think that's poetry or a bad translation? Because obviously, when you break it down, like, do you think that it's a poetic thing or just something that was lost in translation?
I think it's probably translation of something poetic.
Yeah.
Like it's probably like because it is pretty poetic, but I think it's probably more poetic in the original language.
Yeah, that makes sense. I did also want to comment
it's pretty good. A place further than the universe. It doesn't make sense, but it fits the show.
Yeah. No, I agree.
An adventure.
Yeah. I also wanted to add, there was a scene where they were picking up that book, like she was at the library looking for the Antarctica book. Did you notice how drab every other book in the library was? It was like 50 gray books and then this beautiful blue book with pictures of Antarctica. Like it was somebody put it in the wrong section, I think.
All the other books were how to briefly ditch class, even though it's raining. And they were just guides on how to do that, and then the other book was about Antarctica.
Yeah. Most people ditch class for a day. The people who can't. Those who can ditch class, those who can't go to Antarctica.
I feel like also the images were like they were pretty, but they weren't like things that would make you want to go to Antarctica. Like it was just like a dude in a field of snow and just like endless landscape.
That could be you. You could be that dude.
Well, that's what she was thinking. Then she's like, I'm in.
Oh man. All right. What else did I want to ask you about? Oh yes, this was actually one that I think you could answer specifically because you, of course, went to film school. You're quite a film person. Is that the politically correct term?
Yes, yes, a film person, or a movie pal.
Movie pal, yes. So I've watched a fair amount of anime, and some of it you can just tell is complete trash. Like they have about 8 frames animated per minute. To me, this show is quite cinematic, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Like when you were watching it, did you feel like this was a well put together, like the shots used in the production?
If you're asking if this is a million times better than Baki in terms of animation quality, I would say it's in a whole nother league. Yeah, I thought all of the beats were really well planned out. I really liked when they used like 3D spaces and had them walk through it. Like the bathroom was kind of like 3D, and then
Yeah.
they really well time her like hesitant, like pushing the door open. Yeah, I thought it was really, really well made. The lighting was good in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I wouldn't say this is the only show that's this well animated, but like it's very much in the top tier. You can definitely Baki's funny because like I'll die on the hill that I think that Baki has interesting visuals. I just don't think it was meant to be animated. Like I think that they have very very nice still frames.
Yeah. Baki is like watching a storyboard with some sound effects.
Yeah, it's
Whereas this, I think there's movement in every frame.
yes.
Some would say they
bar.
animated it.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Fun fact.
But they also like they had a good sense of like where their like humor beats were too. Like
Yeah.
it was like all the jokes landed, I feel like, which I think is hard to do in animation.
Yeah, especially yeah. This and the humor in this show works because the problem with a lot of comedies, and you know, it's not like it's different here, is that you know there'll be puns or wordplay or stuff, and that is just instant death when you like try and translate it in a comedy. This one,
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
oh, try and watch a comedy, and like a lot of comedic anime will be broken up into like, you know, 3 segments in an episode. The amount of times I'm just sitting there and I'm like, well, the next 6 minutes is already done.
Even just if you see the subtitle of the punchline before they've said it,
Yeah.
like that kind of ruins it. Whereas this, I feel like all of the jokes are like the show knows that it's bonkers that they're going to Antarctica, and I feel like that's where most of the jokes are.
Yeah. No, it had a lot of great visual. The part that I found myself laughing the most at was when the bullies were trying to take her million yen at the bike stand. And Kamari comes over and says something like, the teachers want to talk to you. And she's like, really? And then she just does like the world's goofiest head nod to be like, uh-huh.
お金のことを聞きたいからって本当
I just
Yeah, and then in the next one, she's like, in the next scene, she's like, but I gave you a reassuring look.
yeah. And she's like, what? Yeah. Oh, I love that part so much. All right. I think I've covered most of what I wanted to go over. I think I have 2 last questions for you, Catherine. And then another question, but that one's different.
Some might say 3 last questions.
Something in that ballpark. Our 2 main characters, do you think that they are a perfect fit for each other? Or do you think that they're, like, how do you see them mixing together?
Yeah, I think they are a good fit because one, the Antarctica girl, Like, she is on a harrowing mission where she's like kind of grieving
Mm-hmm.
or like holding on to like a last hope of saving her mother. And then the main girl, she's like on just having a blast. So I really like that kind of like tension between them where one has to do this and like deeply in her soul, and then the other one is like is doing it because she thinks it would be so much fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's almost like they both need each other. Like you have somebody who's so deathly serious about their ambition that their friends refer to her as Antarctica, and then the other girl who's so half-assed in her ambition she can't even like skip school for the day. Yeah,
In a way, she also needs to go to Antarctica because otherwise she'll never go on an adventure.
exactly. On the topic of adventures and youth and all that stuff, Catherine, would you say that did your youth ever spring into action?
My youth spring into action.
This was a phrase from the episode, and I found it interesting.
No, I remember it. She says it a few times. I don't know if my youth ever sprung into action. I never went to Antarctica. Did your youth spring into action?
Oh no, I didn't expect this. I should just cut this part.
Well, what's gonna happen when Mom listens? We need something good for our youth spring. When our mom made chocolate chip cookies,
when
best in the world, our youth sprung into action.
When Mom looked up how to make 3-layered chocolate brownies, my youth sprung into action.
Those were good. With the sea salt.
They're so good. Mom, if you're listening,
anytime. I heard Gwen loves them.
Yep. All right. Well, last thing, and I'm going to flip it a bit. So I've watched the whole show. Did you have any questions for me? Anything you're wondering about?
Oh, like about the whole series.
Yeah, I can dance around spoilers and stuff. Whatever you want.
Because I might watch it because I do kind of want to see what happens. Don't tell me what happens, but like, do we get closure for what happened to the mom?
I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then when they're in Antarctica, is it like how it's portrayed in the intro sequence? Like, is it all like fun shenanigans, or is there an overarching journey? Like, is there more?
Yeah, I would say fun shenanigans. Fun shenanigans. I would not describe it as like. I actually really like how they do it. Like, once they start going on the more like leaving to go to Antarctica part of the series, you can tell they've done their research and like they do a lot of stuff that you would do on a real expedition. Like they're working like the intro makes it seem like they went on an Instagram like tour. There's that one shot of like the girl in her swimsuit. Like that doesn't even happen in the show. I could get off on a tangent on that stuff, but I think that once they get to Antarctica, they keep the same realism, and it's fun seeing what they get up to. You know, like what does an expedition to Antarctica do? I could not have told you that before I watched this show, because it's not just go there, take some pictures, and go home.
Just what a bizarre show. Like, I'm so happy that it exists.
Yeah.
Because it's not bizarre in like no shade to Baki, but like I get why Baki exists. It's weird, but it's like fighting stuff. But this is weird, and like I don't know who it's for or why it was made. But I'm glad that it does.
Yeah. I think it's got some things to say about I think if you boiled this whole show down to one message, and I don't think it's like Baki, I don't think it's a simple show that you can, but I think if you did, it would be about the joy of trying new things, of like putting yourself out there and growing by doing so. And I think if you approach it that way, Antarctica is sort of like a natural place that your show has to approach. Just sort of my thoughts on it.
It's inevitable. We all must go to Antarctica, whatever our Antarctica is.
Yeah, it's all down from here. Down being Antarctica. All right. Well, thank you so much, Catherine, for coming to the first ever episode of the Anime Jukebox. And I'll see you all next month.
Woo!